Welcome back, YouTubers, to my channel of an everyday life of an Aspie. If you're new, I'm Aspie. I'm all about creating mental health and awareness and sharing my life stories with autism and mental health, as well as tips and advice with mental health and autism related videos, along with fun and games, taking you all on a journey with what life is like with me as an autistic adult. So if you're into any of these and more that I might come to face or show with you all, feel free to subscribe on the bottom right hand corner. And if you do so by joining me on the bandwagon today, don't forget to turn on the notification bell so don't miss any future videos that I may post relating to these topics and more. As I post usually Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but as I said, keep on the lowdown where I am at through my social medias. So today I'm going to be talking a bit more about some autistic related topics because it's about time I should be, just to sway off the part about loss and grief series that I wanted to share with you all. But if you did enjoy the loss and grief series beyond that, can you please let me know in the comment section below as feedback so that I can return back to that topic in the near future or what have you. So as I said, this one's going to be an autistic related video, which is, as it's titled, Coming to Terms After Being Diagnosed with Autism at a Later Age, which basically will be broken down into three parts. Part one will be about getting support, part two is going to be embracing your diagnosis, and part three is understanding your diagnosis. And before I begin, as always, is a disclaimer out there for your folks. For those of you who knows, I'm no medical doctor, I'm just your normal Joe blog, so if you see anything out of the ordinary, do seek professional help for yourself or your loved one, or even seek professional advice for yourself or your loved one, because I don't condone self-harm. So let's begin this before I run out of time. It's a given that when we get diagnosed that many children will seek medical assistance, and that ideally it's known that autism is usually diagnosed by when a child is usually 18 months old or even close to 2 or 3 years old, depending on the child, sex. But then again, as I said before, many times before, in fact, that many of us females tend to get misdiagnosed at an early age, and I'll share that in the video link above me and in the description below. But bear in mind, however, that it's not unusual to be diagnosed with autism as a teenager or an adult. This is particularly common with middle-aged adults who come of age before mental health professionals understood and accepted the autism spectrum when it came about. If you've been diagnosed with autism at a late age, it can take some time for you to wrap your head around the diagnosis, right? For sure, for me it was, after being misdiagnosed, as I said in my story, when the medical expert or what have you shared with me that he suspected, basically, besides the ADD, ADHD category bracket, as well as a learning disability hidden in there, I was nearing to Asperger's syndrome that is now classified as autism. But I'll share that also up in the iCard above me as well as below me, so that you can have a look about what autism was like for me for getting this diagnosis. So once we understand more about our diagnosis, however, it can be liberating, exciting, and really scary, and all the other mixed emotions that we get after getting a diagnosis. Many of us might find that when it comes down to getting the diagnosis, regardless if it's autism, regardless if it's mental health related or just a general health related thing, some of it can be a relief for us. It can be a weight off our shoulders, and we can then tackle on, okay, this is what I've got, what can I do to make myself better, or what can I make a better version of myself. Anyways, in saying this can be liberating and exciting to learn some of the reasons behind our behaviours and explore the welcoming and supportive community of the autistic people. As I said, here I am today going to share with you all some of the tips and advice from the friendly aspect of myself about this topic for you or your loved one that may have autism, or you're working with someone with autism, so that we can together understand each other more. We are more than just having autism or some form of label of mental health or what have you, but bear in mind, hopefully I'll keep this as short as possible for these three parts as I mentioned. So let's begin, shall we? So as I said before, part one is getting support. So Number one is I suggest to you guys is joining a autistic self-help group. Be it, as we know today, there are many autistic self-help groups that will enable us to talk to other autistic people either face-to-face, via communication via messenger, via communication through some of the groups we may be in, or what have you. Whatever way works for us. You know, because obviously when we're doing this, it gives us a feeling of belonging, and I hope many of the autistic people I've dealt with have been understanding enough about my diagnosis versus me trying to treat them with respect and vice versa, because at the end of the day it's all about acceptance, as I said before. Also, in saying this though, if you join an autistic self-help group, I believe that this can help us to cope as an autistic person on a bigger scale of things, of trying to be in a neurotypical world that has to be deemed what has to be said, what needs to be said, or what have you. And sometimes I feel that, don't get me wrong, sometimes we feel like we have to be someone that we're not in some ways, I believe. And in saying this also, I believe that we're put in a box full of self-expectations from the neurotypicals of how we're supposed to act and stuff, and so on and so forth. But as I said before in one of my videos about why we mask versus also shape-shifting in females exactly, I'll link this in the iCard about me, also in the description below to get you guys the understanding of what I'm saying here. We may be able to find some groups in our community that we can meet in person if we're lucky enough. There are some autistic groups worldwide that we can connect with basically in the outside world. But then again, as I said before, autism is still new. Sometimes, you know, especially here in New Zealand, there are only small groups I know that can socialise into their peers and whatnot, be it if they're a teenager to adults or vice versa. But there's not much as help for autistic adults as of yet here in New Zealand, which I'm hoping in the near future it will come to fruition. There are also many online groups, however, if you don't feel comfortable meeting with a bunch of people that you may not know. That's fine and well. The choice is us. Do we want to meet with someone face to face, or do we want to just step behind the full screen and actually just, you know, talk to the people on these community groups or what have you? There are also groups, or to find the groups or online forums, sometimes you may need to contact a non-profit organisation that is related to autism. Basically, hearsay that may be of help to us, and we or use their website just for certain resources, even though there are a fair few out there that has that, or basically in the know-how for this, the non-profit organisation may typically have a directory for us. You know, talking to another autistic person can build us up with confidence, especially if we've spent most of our life as an outcast or what have you, or whatever we've been through. You see, basically many of us autistics and many others that are different obviously are the case of victim of bullying, as well as sometimes some autistics I know of basically decides to just become mute for whatever reason. It's not just autistics that goes through the traumatic experience of becoming mute, which hopefully I'll bring out my topic about that in a later date. But moving on, it can be refreshing to find out that there are other people who think and relate to the world just like us. Other autistic people can also share tips and coping strategies with us so that we can better adapt to ourselves and come to terms with our diagnosis. Having a diagnosis of autism means we have easier access to government support and disability benefits to help us manage our life. I know there is a fair few in between here in New Zealand, and I found out just recently that there is a new program out, or two, I could be wrong, basically of funding for autistic people, you know, transitioning from a child to teen to adult from memory. I can't remember what the actual name of the actual organisation, basically on the top of the head, but I'll let you guys know hopefully later today. But in saying this, you can find out about the assistance by contacting a government disability office near you. Non-profit autistic organisations, however, may also have some information about assistance and grant opportunities. The best organisations will have autistic people in leadership positions or on the executive board, and autistic people will have a strong voice in that organisation. Particularly if you've been diagnosed as an adult, you may not want to tell everyone you know that you are autistic. You can give yourself time if you don't feel comfortable enough, because obviously before you reveal this, you need to think about the pros and cons in doing so. As we know, if we were grown up autistic, our family will know our quirks and everything else besides basically, maybe some of our friends if we have had them for a long period of time. But then again, in saying this, also many autistic people, especially women, escape diagnosis until later in life because they don't fit into the stereotypical profile of an autistic person. Because again, as I said, many of us autistic females tend to get misdiagnosed early, maybe through some other diagnoses, be it some form of mental health conditions that we go through or some form of learning disability, because obviously ADHD I've realised in my research versus some other comorbid diagnoses go hand in hand with autism, apparently. Depending on how old you are, however, you probably have already learned many coping mechanisms that allow you to blend in better in with the people that you're with. But then sometimes some autistics may feel they don't blend in. That's okay. I believe that what I've learned sometimes, many people may not accept us for who and what we are, and all that matters is who and what we are. We should believe in ourselves to actually accept ourselves, and also we shouldn't have to fit in all the time. I believe that we need to be the black sheep amongst the white sheep, if that makes sense, to actually bring out our purposes in life and whatnot, and actually shine out to others. This is good for you, but in terms of disclosing your autism, it means that people may doubt you or not even believe you at all. Keep in mind that people often have misconceptions or misunderstanding of autism, because obviously, as I said before, there's so many misunderstandings about this. As a result, they may say things that come across as rude or insensitive because you don't fit the image they have in their head of an autistic person. As I said before, not all autistics are the same once you meet one. Don't assume forever, okay, I met this one, so they must be the same. Every autistic has different characteristic traits, I can't stress it enough, as well as insaneness with their characteristic traits, basically, of their differences. We need to accept the differences. Some will be on the high end of the autism scale of this box or umbrella term of autism spectrum versus on the low end, which I'm trying to learn now not to use the terms high functioning versus low functioning, because many of the groups I've been in have been slapping me on the knuckles for this. But if any of you want to know more about this high functioning versus low functioning terms that I'm mentioning right now based on autism, I'll link it in the description as well as in the iCard. Before you decide that you want to be completely open about your diagnosis and your identity, make sure you're prepared to handle people who will have the doubts or attempt to invalidate your diagnosis. There are many countries such as the US and UK alone, autism is considered as a disability with a national legal framework. I don't see autism as a disability. I feel it as a part of me, basically. It's an ability to do things on my own. Obviously, being an autistic, I can be capable of doing some things on my own. It's just hoping that people around me can accept me for me and actually allow me to show what I can do, if that makes sense. Your diagnosis entitles you to accommodations you might otherwise have difficulty getting. Okay, in New Zealand there are only few workplaces may accept us autistics to actually work within our means from memory. Keep in mind that seeking accommodations typically involves telling people at work about your diagnosis. As I've said in one of the videos, I believe that sometimes we are usually honest and loyal to you guys, and I feel also in saying this that we get slapped on the knuckles because with that honesty it comes at a price. Obviously, either A, we lose our friends or whoever it may be. And in saying this also, basically, that I've learnt in the interview stage, even though at the last minute, is there anything else we need to know about you before we end the interview today, stumps me, as if I say to myself, do I want to reveal it then, or do I want to wait till 6 months, or what have you? Because as I've noticed, but then it's like, to me, I feel like we should be able to express it to the future employer during the interview stage. But if they do ask the last question, is there anything else we need to know about you before we close the interview today? Be prepared though to explain autism and how it impacts your life if there is anything that may affect you in your everyday life while having autism. Let your boss or immediate supervisor know of the accommodations you may request to them. For example, supposingly you work in an office cubicle, the most common one, and you have trouble concentrating because you can hear co-workers talking on the phone all day. You may request a closed office for an accommodation for yourself. If they deny your request, you may have to take this as a further action to talk to the disability rights attorney if your request for accommodations that has been denied, or if you have been discriminated against your employer after revealing your diagnosis. I believe also in saying this basically, and what I'm saying here in this last part about taking that further action, there is the Code of Conduct of the Human Rights Act 1993. We have the right for education, we have the right to be treated and whatever else, also about our gender, disability or what have you, even though I feel right now basically it is coming of late, starting to disappear. The people closest to you often will be your greatest sources of support, even if none of them are autistic themselves. Spending time with people who love and care about you can help you come to terms with your diagnosis. In most cases, diagnosis of adults or teenagers includes a questionnaire or interviews with your parent. If this is the case for you, they already know about the situation and may be eager to provide you with any help that you may need. Your closest friends are people who have been through thick and thin with you, and they love you for who and what you are, not just as a label mentality of autistic or mental health or whatever it may be. They likely will take the news well and can help you decide whether to tell others and who to tell. In particular, lean on the people who've been in your life for a long time. They've been accustomed to and accepting of your various quirks, sense of humour, what have you about you, and they can be a breath of fresh air as you come to terms with your diagnosis, because around them you can just relax and be yourself. Well, this quickly ends the first part of the coming to terms with diagnosis of autism. Smash the like, comment below of anything I may have missed, or if anything rings a bell to you in this first section basically, but bear in mind there are 3 parts.
Also, in saying this, don't forget that I have got a merch store that I'm trying to hopefully add a bit more, the Patreon account. For those of you who are new today, Patreon is like a subsidy account for us creators, be it music creators, content creators that are doing mental health or water form it is that they're using as a form of the platform on YouTube, Twitch, or wherever else they may likely to fly about. Basically a bit about giving back to you guys when you do support, so if you feel to donate to me, big or small, no pressure basically, but it'd be much appreciated if you did. But hey, this will cover my cost of my rent, the travel when I do some more traveling with Aspie series, or just traveling in general, as well as maybe better recording equipment, so to speak, with the camera setup and whatnot, so that I'm not solely relying on my phone, and many other parts that we're saying. And in saying this, with the Patreon account, basically you'll see that I've been trying to do some benefits and ties for you to give back to you as a thank you for joining with me, even though some of it will be maybe for free, some of it maybe need out of my pocket to send you guys certain stuff, be it if it may be if you donate to a certain amount, merch of your choice, versus basically maybe if I can afford to print out a copy of my book that I did 3 years ago, if you're interested in reading my life story more there. And I'm saying this also just to let you guys know down that I've got some projects in the works that I'm still hoping that if anyone wants to participate for project number 1 of the Journey Through the Mind series that you may have seen, Lydia, who was the first participant from Life with Lydia, basically sharing her life story. So I'm hoping to do short blurts of documentary style stories basically based on this. And in saying this, basically if you want to be on the bandwagon in any way for that, feel free to comment below. As well as saying this, the second project of it was supposed to be an icebreaker for you guys, just to answer a series of questions, and if you do decide to come back for the second part of that Journey Through the Mind series to be a more depth storyline, please feel free, because I'm hoping later today, if all goes to plan, and I'm hoping to maybe get someone on the side to maybe animate them or what have you. And I'm saying this also, if you've seen some of my other videos, be it through my poetry, my baking with Aspie and everything else, please let me know what you would see more of, because at this point of time it's all about giving back to you guys regardless, but I know I should be focusing solely on mental health and awareness and acceptance and inclusion as an advocate, but I would like to try and bring in some mixture of things so I don't, bore you guys, so that you can just, instead of getting to know me, maybe getting to know others that were interested in coming into play. And then there's also just a heads up, basically, I was hoping in the works later today to do a second part of my book that I did based on my life of an Aspie, looking through the life of Asperger's syndrome or something along those. I'll link the link in the description below based on that as well, so that if any one of you that are maybe autistic and are from the autistic community groups and you're interested in participating, let me know, so that maybe we can get the ball rolling and get the short stories done and up as well as a third part of my book series, because I'm still thinking that there are certain topics I may have not touched base on from the first part of my book of the journey through life with Asperger's syndrome of mine. And to wrap it up, basically, I have some other funding pages, like basically GoFunding or some other funding page that I've got, that if you're interested in maybe doing it through there instead of through basically Patreon. But as you know, Patreon and this other one, you have the option of PayPal and just insert bank account details and whatnot. I'm also saying this, also I'm trying to get my blog up to date so I can create it as a website hopefully as of before next year, because that's my main goal. I'm still looking for someone who is willing to actually maybe help me design it from WordPress to actually put this web address in and stuff and tidy it up so that we can actually put other bits and pieces in that you may want to see on there, so to speak, if you've seen it, sort of thing. Hopefully you're enjoying some of the read-ups of what I write, even though it's similar to what I share with you guys of certain videos I may have put out, sort of thing. So it's easier for you guys when you come onto my WordPress site, that if you're a visual person instead of like a reader person, some of it is similar, but it should hopefully have some bits and pieces. And also in saying this, I'm at this point of time been away for a few times too because of the subtitling I'm doing. I hopefully you enjoyed this video, and do what you love what you do. Until next time, I'll see you again soon. Ciao for now.